Hello, and this is Silent Brothers, and today we're very excited to introduce a new series to the channel. We're gonna call this Meet the Creator, and it's basically gonna consist of some sort of spotlight on various creators. We're gonna do some writers, we're gonna do some artists, we're gonna do some both, and we hope you enjoy it. And today we have the master himself, Frank Miller. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, we have two disclaimers. The first one is we are only going to cover books of Frank Miller until the 90s because we think that until that period of time, his work was more influential and more important to comic medium. And the second one is we again only are going to cover books we own. So let's get started. The books we don't own are Martha Washington, The Dark Knight Returns 2 and 3, All Star, Batman and Robin, 300, I think I said that already, and Hardboiled, which that book actually is going to come in oversized hardcover very soon, and I'm definitely going to buy that because it has an amazing art by Jeff Dar, which is an artist that I really love. So that's definitely something we will grab in the future.
So to kick things off, we're gonna start with Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Jensen. And before we start, it's worthy to mention that at the end of the 70s, Frank Miller was working part-time in comics, not focusing too hard on it, drawing art for Spectacular Spider-Man back in 79 in issues 27 and 28. And in those comics, Daredevil guest starred in the Spider-Man one. And after that, he started working as an artist for Daredevil back when Roger McKenzie was writing it, and he even disliked him.
He's writing.
He's like he's writing in the direction he was taking that. So he started sort of working as an artist, and when Roger McKenzie was sacked, he stopped writing Daredevil. Then Frank Miller took over, and he started writing Daredevil, and this is what we have here.
On this particular run, Frank Miller brings back characters like Stick, which is this
The
kind
master.
of master, of Daredevil, and he creates Elektra, which is the
Sort of an antagonist, like a love interest as
yeah,
well.
exactly, and it's an amazing character in my opinion. And in this run, in this book, which I really recommend you to get to new readers too, because it's an amazing introduction to comics as well. And Frank Miller here began to write the way he does now and the way he did in all his career. And what I mean by that is that Frank Miller has this particular way to write, which is like super dark, super. It's like a neo noir style of writing, something like that. Particular, I myself, I love it. I really like Frank Miller's writing. Is actually my favorite writer for time in comics. But I get if someone says that his style has, over the time has become a character itself. So I get that it's probably right, especially in the later years. But in this time that we're going to cover, I really love that style of writing, and by the time it was written, it was something new. In
Yeah, it was
fact,
sort of revolutionary at the time, and some people don't get that and kind
exactly.
of get tired of that. Yeah,
I'm talking about Chris Claremont. He and Frank Miller create this amazing series of Wolverine, and actually this was his first solo series, and this was a weird thing because Wolverine was a very known character even then. So Chris Claremont wrote the story, and Frank Miller made the art, and the art is amazing. It's a really cool, like manga-esque, something like that. Um,
Japanese inspired. Yeah.
yeah, of course,
Mhm.
as almost all Frank Miller art. Um, so the story talks about Wolverine going to Japan in search of Mariko Yashida, his love. So and he ends up fighting Mariko's father, and the Hand, created by Frank Miller in Daredevil previously, um,
Makes an appearance
in the
the
Daredevil.
comic,
Yeah, he creates the Hand, Frank Miller. Um, so I really recommend this series because, as I said before, if you are a Wolverine fan, it's really one of the best Wolverine stories there is, and this series have oversized hardcover, which is kind of out of print, I think. But if you are an X-Men fan, you know that 4 issue stories appears here in
Uncanny
Uncanny
X-Men.
X-Men. Yeah, volume 3.
So up next we have Ronin, which is Frank Miller's first creator-owned comic. He does the art for this and he does the story for this, and he works with Lynn Barley, which is his colorist, and later on went on to become his wife. This is a very nice story because it's a samurai story with sci-fi elements, and it's definitely something very different to what you may be used to if you've never read something like this before. And the art is inspired a lot in Japanese art and European art, which is a very interesting mixture when it comes to art. So in the story we follow the story of a samurai who is such a sort of on a vengeance quest, and this is a great read and it's one of the best Frank Miller's books. It's actually his favorite.
We're actually now in the 80s. This is the year 83 to 84, Ronin. So he was saying that the art was very influenced by Japanese and European comics, and Frank Miller in here was he was actually very inspired by one artist called Moebius, and one manga called Lone Wolf and Cub. Those comics, and Moebius and Lone Wolf and Cub, where he smashed those comics up, and he created this based on that two books. So you can see all that here. I mean, just look at this. This looks very Moebius, and if you take a look at something more manga-esque, something like the first issues are more influenced by Oriental drawings.
Yeah, the story has Oriental elements because it's based on a Ronin, which is basically a samurai that has no master. So we kind of follow the story on that, and it's a vengeance quest, and it's but there are twists in it that you don't expect. So it's not just a samurai story, you know. Like I said, it has sci-fi elements that you don't expect, and when you see what's happening and it all comes together, it kind of blows your mind a little bit.
Despite the fact that Ronin is my favorite Frank Miller book, I think Frank Miller was at his peak at the year 86, and I say that because it's incredible how much material he was writing at that period of time. That I don't know if there is any author in comics medium that has this amazing and incredible year of work. So first off, we're going to talk about this book that he created in January '86, and it's called Love and War, which for me is is a very underrated book.
So Love and War, it's a graphic novel, like he said, by Frank Miller, and the art is done by the great Bill Sienkiewicz, and it's a great story because it's not as you might be surprised, it's not as focused on Daredevil as much, but on a thug that the Kingpin hires to kidnap a wife doctor to cure his love interest. And in this story, we follow the story of this thug who's addicted to pills. He's a drug addict. He's a very mental character. Yeah, he has mental problems, and he ends up falling in love with the woman that he's supposed to kidnap to help the Kingpin. And you can kind of say that the main characters in this book in particular are the Kingpin and the thug himself, and not Daredevil. You could almost like remove Daredevil entirely, and it would be
Just the same.
Just the same.
Not
story.
the same, but almost. Actually.
Yeah, almost the same. Yeah. So this story is definitely something you should check out. It's not something that very many people talk about, and the Bill's art in this one, it's not for everyone. Maybe you're not into this kind of art in particular, but it fits the story perfectly because it's psychedelic, it's dark, it's, you know, I don't.
It's beautiful
I
at
mean,
the same time.
look at it. I'm sorry. This is the one. I mean, it might not be for you, but this is definitely something that fits this particular story. Coming up next, we have Born Again. Again, obviously by Frank Miller, also written in '86, like we've been saying. And this story, the art is done by David Mazzucchelli, who later went on to do Batman Year One. Yeah, exactly, which is a great book, and we'll cover later on. Anyway, so Daredevil Born Again, for many people, is the definitive Daredevil run. Some people consider that. That's a very valid opinion. It's a great story. In this story, we see that Kingpin finds out that Daredevil is actually Matt Murdock and decides to break him down, taking away his law firm, taking away his apartment, and he finds his identity through Karen Page, which used to be Daredevil's love interest, and at this point she's addicted to drugs, so she, to get some cash, reveals the identity, and then Matt is pretty much screwed, and is broken down by Kingpin through all these aspects that I have mentioned. And then we have this character, Ben Urich, who finds out that Matt has been framed by Kingpin for fraud and decides to help, and he's really one of the characters that comes in really strong and unexpectedly in this story.
Ben Urich here is amazing. He's, for me, with Daredevil is the best character. In this, actually, my favorite part of the book was when Ben Urich spoilers is when Ben Urich finds out that Kingpin is behind all that, and he discovers in one scene his wife hanging, almost dying, and he has this fight with this big huge woman, and that is just amazing storytelling by David Mazzucchelli and obviously Frank Miller.
Up next, we have Batman: The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller.
Also in '86.
Yes. And as you can see, this is coming along as a great year because this is one of the best Batman graphic novels there is. And it's very dear to my heart because it's like the second comic I ever read, because everyone recommends it if you want to get into Batman. And in this story, we see a very old Batman, a retired Batman, a very big Batman, bulky as well. And in this story, he's kind of coming back to it because he's needed. The city is in complete chaos, and there's a bunch of story regarding the mutants, and the Joker is also here. And this is definitely a story that you should pick up if you haven't already, although everyone has picked it up at some point. I believe they made a cartoon out of this as well.
Yeah.
Because it was so popular and such a hit. And this is this is definitely one of the best things Frank Miller has ever done. We have Jim Norton, we have classic Batman action, and like I said, like we were mentioning before, the style of this very dark style of characters that Frank Miller has really fits well into this story, and definitely with a character like Batman, it's something that particularly fits pretty well with Daredevil and Batman in particular. And we also have this new Robin that's a girl, and so that was sort of a new thing at the time. And yeah,
Christopher Nolan takes a lot of that book from his movies.
Right.
A lot.
The very popular trilogy, right? So definitely do check this out. This is one of the best, like I said, one of the best Batman graphic novels. So if you're into that, check that out, as well as Year One, we will discuss later.
So again, in '86 comes another fantastic series which I haven't read, I have to say, but it is something that when it came out, it was a no-brainer for me actually, and it is Elektra by Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz. Again, working together is, in art-wise, is very similar to the graphic novel Love and War. As you can see, it's very dark in art, and it looks actually like the same thing. As I said, I haven't read it, so I can't speak too much about it, but I'm really eager to do it because I mean it's Frank Miller and it is Elektra. I know obviously that Elektra here is come back from the death, so it's really actually something that I'm eager to read because it looks very interesting.
Moving along, we have another one of the best of Batman's graphic novels. We have Batman Year One, the art by the fantastic David Mazzucchelli, and this is an amazing book. If you read this, it's got this whole dark thing going on, this noir. I mean, it's about one of the first outings as Batman that Bruce is having, so he's sort of inexperienced and everything, and you can kind of see how the characters.
This is his first year working as Batman.
Yeah, yeah, and this is in the year '87, so it's a year after all these things we've been mentioning. So you mean what an awesome writer and artist, and I mean you really gotta hand it to the guy. We also see Catwoman in this book. It's got amazing art, amazing story. I mean, I mean, I guess you have read it before because this is one of the best, and it's very dear to my heart. This is my favorite Frank Miller thing because it's what got me into reading comics in the first place. So it sort of holds a dear place in my heart, and I mean it's just a great story. To wrap up this video, we're gonna come finally to the '90s, and this is when Frank Miller did something that we all know and love, and I'm sure you've seen the movie, and it's something called Sin City. And maybe you have it like this. Maybe you have Big Damn Sin City, which is out of print,
or the library editions, which are beautiful but they are heavily out of print. Sadly for me, because I really want to upgrade these little trade paperbacks, but you know they are fine. But I mean, Frank Miller's art here is very beautiful and very noir, very dark, very sexy too, very violent. And I really want to upgrade this because I love the stories. Particularly, I really like the four volume That Yellow Bastard. I really love this book. It's one of the best stories I've ever read. Period. Not only in comics, but in any medium possible. I really love that the writing, the script here is such a masterful thing. I mean, and the art and the characters are such an amazing people just to watch, and you engage to them very profoundly. And yeah, I mean, Frank Miller has the thing that makes you care about these people that you are not supposed to care about. So I mean, Sin City is great, man. I mean, you should really check this out because you can get this again. If you want, you can get Big Damn Sin City, but it's such a heavily and
yeah, it's really hard to read.
Yeah.
And again, this by itself character that's Frank Miller's writing really comes into play here because it's a very noir story, or very noir stories, and this really comes into play nicely, and shows this whole portrayal of characters in a way that really gets to you, and this is a great story. I'm sure you've seen the movie, but even if you have,
yeah, the movie's great too. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was a great movie in itself. But if you can, and if you get the chance, pick this up with the library editions that are out of print. Pick up Big Damn Sin City if that's what's available to you, or pick this up in trade paperbacks. But definitely do check this out. This is one of the greatest things that exists in storytelling.
Yeah.
Finally, to wrap up the video, in '93 we have The Man Without Fear, which is an origin story for Daredevil that Frank Miller did. And there we see how he lost his sight, how his father died, and got killed. You know, the childhood, the college years, the whole training as Daredevil, first outings, all that, and it leads
how he met Elektra.
How he met Elektra, and how it leads up to becoming Daredevil. And this is for me the best origin story for Daredevil that there is out there.
Sure.
So definitely check this out if you're a Daredevil fan. If you haven't already, it's a great book. It's short. You can read it in one go if you want, and you'll have something that's fantastic. And like I said, this whole dark tone that Frank Miller imprints in what he does is just amazing. And definitely do check this out if you're a Daredevil fan, a comics fan, a Frank Miller fan, etc.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for seeing this video, and I want to excuse myself because I don't speak English that well, so please bear with me in here, and maybe in the other videos as well. So thank you very much.
These were the Silent Brothers. We're signing out. Have a nice day.